My name is Maraj. I am a consultant neurologist at Eric Williams Medical Sciences Center. I did my neurology training in Calgary in Canada. Specifically, I have an interest in multiple sclerosis, so it's a pleasure to be here. Multiple sclerosis is a chronic inflammatory condition affecting the central nervous system, that is the brain and spinal cord, which involves demyelination of the nerves of the brain itself. Now, this impacts significantly on patients' ability to function and their quality of life. Now, when you think about the central nervous system, it's composed of nerve cells, which have a central wire running through it, and the insulation around it. What happens in MS? The insulation around the wires is supplied by a protein called myelin, and when that myelin breaks down, you get something called demyelination. That disrupts transmission of nerve impulses from the brain down to the spinal cord and to the body, and hence results in the symptoms and signs that characterize multiple sclerosis. So, MS can affect the patient in quite a number of ways. Typically, by affecting the central nervous system, you have central syndromes that can be affected. Specifically, you get something called optic neuritis, which could be difficulty seeing out of one or both eyes, a cerebellar type syndrome, which would involve coordination or balance problems. Could also involve spinal cord problems, which would involve bowel or bladder symptoms. It could also have weakness involving one or both sides of the body. Patients with MS could also have things like seizures, and one of the most important things that they could have is chronic fatigue and memory loss. Now, when you add all these things up together, it could significantly affect the patient's personal, psychological, vocational, as well as social functioning. So there are basically two forms of MS. One is the relapsing remitting form, which consists of patients having discrete clinical attacks, like we spoke about before. So example, optic neuropathy, cerebellar syndrome, or spinal cord type syndrome. Usually, these come on over maybe a matter of hours to days, and typically get pretty bad. Then the patient recovers significantly over maybe a matter of days to weeks. Then there's the progressive form of MS, where they don't have as many discrete attacks as that, but the patients significantly accrue a disability chronically over time. The accrued disability contributes to significant progression of symptoms, and these patients who have progressive MS have a significantly worse quality of life. So currently MS is being treated publicly and privately. I'll speak mostly about the public health sector. There are currently 5 neurological clinics run in the public health sector in Trinidad and Tobago, one in Port of Spain General, one in San Fernando, one in Eric Williams, one in Tobago, and one in Sangre Grande. In the public health sector, we have 3 classes of medication that can be used to treat MS. The most common and the longest running medication is something called beta interferon. That's an injectable that's given every alternate day, and it's usually used for patients who have the more benign, stable MS to try and prevent disability from being accrued. Secondly, about 5 years ago, we managed to acquire an oral medication called fingolimod. That's for more the mild to intermediate patients who have MS. This is basically a tablet twice a day. And then finally, we have the infusion therapies, which are the really, really strong therapies for MS. One is rituximab, one is ocrelizumab. We have a fair number of patients throughout the country on these medications. That's given as an infusion once every 6 months and significantly alters the course of MS in the patients who are treated with it. Unfortunately, there is no cure for MS at this point in time. Lots of research is being done throughout the world, in the Western world and in the Eastern parts of the world, with respect to trying to find what are the underlying causes for MS and trying to figure out what we can use to basically cure MS. In Trinidad and Tobago, we have about, give or take, 200 patients with MS. So that's about 200 patients per 1.3 million people. So which is fairly common given the prevalence throughout the world. So different patients have different prognostic factors, which makes MS maybe more difficult to treat in one patient versus another patient. The negative prognostic factors in patients include male sex, older age of onset of MS, and non-white racial ethnicity. So those patients who have those things are most likely to have a less easy to treat MS. So being in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, MS patients should be cautious about the disease and their MS. Most of the major studies that have been done so far has shown no significant adverse outcome with respect to hospitalizations and death in MS patients as opposed to non-MS patients, even when the MS patients who are on disease-modifying therapy. Now, vaccination is one of the major hot topics right now. Most of the major MS societies in the world, such as the National MS Society in USA, Association of British Neurologists, and the Canadian MS clinics, have advocated that patients should receive COVID-19 vaccinations, whichever one that's available to them, to reduce their risk of morbidity and mortality from COVID-19, as this is more significantly a risk to them than interrupting their MS therapy. So MS itself significantly affects patients' psychological health. And mostly what we tell patients to do to try and keep their mental health as up as possible is try to do these simple things. Exercise when you can. Try and eat as healthily as possible. Don't smoke cigarettes. That'll significantly alter your cognitive function. And one of the major things I try to tell patients to do is to try and be mindful and try and be positive most of the time, and try and cut yourself some slack, because having MS is not an easy thing, and it's really, really good to be kind to themselves and advise their families to be kind to them as well, because it's not an easy thing that they're living with.
My name is Curtis Nicholas. I'm 63 years old. I'm here with my wife, Islyn, and I'm trying to live my life as comfortable as I can, coping with this multiple sclerosis. I found out I had multiple sclerosis in 2018. I had been having, symptoms from as far back as maybe 2014. But of course, I didn't know that that is what it was. Multiple sclerosis has really changed my life. I'm not able to move as freely as I once did, because I grew up my whole life playing football, cricket, and having fun, swimming, doing whatever I wanted to. Now, I am not able to do most of those things as efficiently as before. I have problems walking. I can't stand properly, because if I stand too long, I'll start to, I'll be like falling over. Sometimes I'll be walking and people might wonder if I'm drunk, because I might be staggering, and not able to walk in a straight line. Sometimes it's amusing, but it's also painful at times. Being able to have a positive outlook on things, I think it's because of the way I live my life, always, looking on the bright side of things and dealing with it as best as I can. And also because of my wife, Islyn, the support that I have from her, and my children, although they are not here, they are in the United States, but I have a lot of support from them. And I try my best to cope with everything as best as I can.
Well, being with someone who has MS, you have to have a lot of patience. You have to have a lot of faith, because it's hard in the sense that there's nothing you could do to help them physically, and it's hard watching someone you love go through what he has to go through, right? Because most you could do is just be there and try to support them, and for whatever they need mentally. As I say, physically, there's nothing much you could do to help them, unless it's, to get something for them. But when they're going through, well, when he's going through one of his crises, and he's in pain, and it's scary, it's frightening. And I'm watching him going through this, and there's nothing physically I could do but just be there for when he reaches out.
The medication that I take are more like medication for nerve pain, tablets for nerve pain, sometimes for muscular pain. Sometimes I might have to take something to help with stomach problems, like acid reflux and so on. That might be because of the medication that I'm taking, that might come up. So I have to sort of balance the medication that I'm taking, with what I'm eating and everything else. I think one of the worst things about MS is the cost of medication. The medication is so expensive. It's really, really expensive. There was, I think it was in April last year, I was hospitalized because for about 5 days, I couldn't eat or drink anything, not even water. As fast as it went down, it came back up. So that's one of the things that, that you have to experience. And that wasn't an easy thing to deal with. And in the hospital, they, all the tests that they did, ultrasounds, x-rays, everything came back normal. Because what it is basically, and it's one of the things that people don't realize about MS, is that the nerve is sending the wrong signal to the brain. So the nerve telling the brain, hey, you have a tonsil infection or you have an ear infection, and you're swallowing to your mouth, you're salivating, you think that time nothing is really wrong. But it's just that wrong signal that the nerve is sending to the brain. So when you go to the hospital, because you have to go because you want to make sure that, when you go to the hospital, can't find anything wrong, it's just that miscommunication between the, so that's mainly, I think that's basically what MS is about. I have from here go down, the nerves, most of them are dead. So I have no control really from here to down. All my toes are like this, bent. I can't move the toes, or from my ankle go down on this foot. I could do it with this foot. So.
Can you drive?
No. I could have driven before. God, no. Maybe if I try, I might do it, and knowing me. Because I have one foot that I may be able to control. So. I still try to do all the things that I used to do before. The landlord here put in a swimming pool. So we swim, have fun, we and swim. And actually, that is one of the easiest things that I can do right now.
This one?
Yeah, that is very easy for me. Right. You mentioned how I seem to be moving easily. There are times I won't be able to do that. I'll have pain like from the waist go down. I won't be able to lift this foot. I'll have to drag it until I can sit somewhere. That's how it is. In other days, I'll be walking as good as you see me walking this morning.
As I mentioned, you never know what's going to happen from one minute to the next. You don't know what is going to happen. As I say, he could be sitting watching telly and start choking like if he was eating something. And, it's like it's frightening because there's nothing to stop it until it decides to stop for itself. Right? And if you don't live in the present, you will always be sad and upset, and you won't be living. So you always have to try and look at the bright side. It's like what I try to do is like not stop what I was doing before it happened. Like when the time passed, I go ahead and try to make it as normal as you could possibly make it, because then it will always be on edge. Oh my God, I wouldn't want to go to work because I wouldn't want. I'm at work and I'm worrying about him home if something happened and no one's there. So it's a constant. So you always have to try to look like, all right, plan events, go out when you can, because there are times that you won't be able to do anything. So you gotta do. And then he being who he is, a fighter, makes it very easy. He's not a person who gives up easily, and that's a plus. You have to find. Sometimes you'll get sad and depressed because, it's obvious, but You got to try them, because with MS, it's not the patient alone going through MS, it's the spouse. So whoever is there is going through it with them. So it's a balance. You have to find that, as I say, you have to find that strength to take a step every day. Because every day is something. Sometimes at night you're sleeping and you jump up because he gets cramp. And he jumps out of, because his leg is whole cramping, can't lie down, he has to stand up. You know, and some, like the other night, he was sleeping and getting spasms. So I'm not sleeping because I'm looking at him, because every time his body spasms, you know, weak. So, you know, sometimes you don't sleep. He don't sleep, you don't sleep. And then other nights you'll have a good night. And that's how it is. And that's the life. That's what you know, that's your life. And you live it.
One of the most irritating things to go through with MS. See, I'm sitting here and chatting, and all of a sudden you'll feel like somebody trying to pound some needles or a nail under your foot, and that is so painful. It might go on for a few seconds and stop, or it might go on for like about 5 minutes. Just picture somebody pounding a nail into your foot underneath. That is so painful. Sometimes she'll just come out and see me in tears. Because I won't call her to anything. Because I know it will stop. You know, so I just have to wait until it stops. But that is so irritating. We appreciate you coming and, you know, finding out more about what we go through and, you know, how we deal with it. We appreciate that.
Hello, my dear.
Nice to see you again.
Yes,
So can
sir.
you tell me a little bit about yourself and
Myself?
your foundation,
My
the Sclerosis Support Foundation?
Okay. All right. For myself, I have a little history. I am a sociologist from Trinidad University of the West Indies and the Foreign University in Champaign, Illinois. I did medical sociology. And I have been good most of my life. I've been normal. I've done all I had to do. Had my 2 children, and after I did all my work and had my children through university, then this MS came upon me. I was walking and doing everything as usual, and then I got MS pretty late in life, probably in my early 50s. So it has been, and I have seen myself going through the processes and the stages. So so that by this time I can only walk with a walker, and I get myself around and I do things myself. So that's about me. The MS Foundation started in about 2017. I was asked to join a group called Multiple Sclerosis Society of Trinidad and Tobago. And that was in about 2014. And I was president also, but I found that the group was not doing enough for MS people. The members of the society were, the executive were lawyer, doctor, engineer, those types. And at the meetings they would discuss big things and all large concepts and so on. But I don't find they were doing enough for MS people. There was a point in time when there was something of a conflict in the committee, and it wasn't going anywhere. So I said I had to leave, because I found that MS people were not getting attention enough, because there weren't many needs. So I left after a while, and 3 of the members left with me, and we started the Multiple Sclerosis Support Foundation because we wanted to support MS people. So we started it in 2017 and got about to trying to look at what it is these MS people need, including myself, and what we could do. So we started with looking at them getting exercises, physiotherapy, massage therapy, occupational therapy. So we contacted persons, professional people who work in those areas, and we asked them to work with us. And they all did. Most of them gave pro bono support because we had no money. They came and did sessions, especially the physiotherapist, for all of us. She looked at what kind of problem we had, and she would do the exercises accordingly and also give us a little literature with what we're supposed to do after we left her. So that was so good. So we moved from there and then we found we wanted more education about MS and what is going on and what is the prognosis, if this thing could be cured, and all that we did not know. So we got other people. Sometimes they came here right in my garage and we had meetings and discussions about what to be done. So we moved from there to form a professional body to help the executive. And we did that. Professional people were all willing to help again. Some doctors, physiotherapists, even people in your area, media, communication, because we also needed to expose MS to society, let people know what it is about, and we did that. And and then soon after that, the coronavirus came, and that limited what we could do, how much movement we could make. The professional body almost collapsed because of the limitations in movement, and you're only moving through what is it called, that virtual meetings and so on. So we're now trying to get that started again and to get our group functioning. Well, every year the international body for MS celebrates World MS Day in May. This year, I think May 31st, this year, we had a holiday. I think it was Indian Arrival Day, so we could not celebrate it on that day. We did it the next week, the following week, on the 5th of June. But we started to celebrate, preparing to celebrate it from much earlier. So in March, April, we wanted to involve the membership, and we also wanted to contribute to public awareness. So we had the membership write their stories, write what had happened to them, what their experiences were, and put a picture next to it so people would know what it was. And there are so many different types of MS and so many different types of experiences people had. We thought it would be useful to share those. We had about 8 to 10 of those, and we were able to publish it and have it shared with the wider population. On Loop, I think it was on as well. And so they were involved and they were excited, and they did that. Also, we were preparing for the major event on our day was June 5th. And we had various, again, multiple aspects, many things we had put together. One was, again, public awareness, writing letters in the press, having sessions on TV, I think it was, as well as letters from people, from MS people themselves. The major item on the final day consisted of a meeting, a large meeting of members and friends and representatives on Zoom. And we had presentations by one of our major consultants, Dr. Nicholas Maraj, as well as Dr. Pandey, who is a consultant and who sees many of our patients. And I gave an introduction and so on to the meeting. And that went very well. Dr. Pandey's paper was received very well. We looked into all these issues about MS and COVID, whether we should take the vaccine or not, and so on. And Dr. Maraj and Pandey gave us an educated concept and about what that should be, MS and COVID. I had tinglings in my feet and so on, in my legs and feet, and it was difficult to diagnose, what that was and so on. It was difficult to diagnose until I was even in Mount Hope Hospital for about 3 weeks, and they did all the tests. At that time, I was a minister of government, so I had access to all the various tests and so on, which were done, and still, it was not made sure that I had MS until I got the second attack. So I had one attack, and by 4 years after that, I had the second attack, and then they said yes, it's MS, because they sent the samples abroad and so on to find out what was happening. And so I was 4 years. I suspected what it was, but it was not confirmed until 4 years after, when I got the second attack. MS creeps upon you. It starts, as I told you, I had the second attack. The period of the attack or the onset of the symptoms, that period is about a month to go through that. For me, I had steroids at that time, and gradually the symptoms left. I think I had also some physiotherapy. Gradually they left, and I came back to walk normally, almost normally, although I had some difficulties under my feet, feelings under the feet. And so after 4 years it came back, and then I was sure I have MS. Of course, you read up whatever you could and so on, do your research, and it was frightening, of course. So then you understand what type of MS you have. I had the relapsing remitting type. Part of it, you're sick, there's pain, there's difficulty, increasing limitations in terms of movement and walking and so on. And my MS started in my legs. So that is what was first affected, and it affects the right side of my body. So that becomes but after a time, after the steroids help. Steroids will bring you back to almost where you were before, or a little. You don't get back right where you were, you're a little worse, but you could survive, you could make it. My worst experiences with MS was when I got blind. I had optic neuritis in my left eye for about a month. I was blind in that eye, yes. Again, the steroids brought me back. And at that time too, I had to do operations on the eye, and voila, I'm back. But so it's a back and forward. But right now I'm in a different stage of MS, which is secondary progressive. So after the relapsing remitting period, it's now progressing. No more remitting. It goes on a slow pace, a slow downward pace. So the steroids are useful to get rid of the relapsing, getting what we call an attack. But drugs that will reduce the disease itself, the problems with the disease itself, there are several of them. And in Trinidad, the first one that was introduced that was good at the time, almost over 20 years ago now, that was, what's it?
Is that the Ocrevus?
No, the Ocrevus is the latest one, and it is the best one. Of those that are available now, the Ocrevus is the best. It is the only drug that is available to a certain type of MS patient, that is the primary progressive. Primary progressive is when you get MS, but you don't relapse and remit. You don't get back. You don't regain any of what you've lost anytime. It just goes down and down and down. So those patients get to wheelchair very quickly, and they do not get progression. This Ocrevus is the only drug that has been able to work with persons who are primary progressive, reduce the symptoms, prevent the deterioration in the muscles of their leg so they can move and so on and so on. So, and the earlier you take it, of course, is the better. And now Ocrevus is useful for all types of MS. So there's primary progressive, secondary progressive, relapse and remitting, and others. So, yeah. We have been on that drug, please help me, interferon, the first drug, the one was here for 20 years, for quite a while. Interferon, some doctors still order it, but there are others that are available. All of those drugs are very expensive. I was on interferon for about 3 years, and one or two times the drug was not available from the public health, because the Ministry of Health pays for that drug for MS patients. If it's not available, I was so afraid that I would relapse. I tried to get it myself. And 1 month supply of that interferon cost me $10,000. $10,000. At the time, I was able to afford it, but I can't afford that now. And most people cannot afford that. Some of the other drugs are even more expensive. And the Ocrevus, I understand it's extremely expensive. These patients, in my view, and in the view of many MS people, seem not to get the attention that other health groups get, like cancer and diabetes and others. We seem not to be known. It seems that the ministry does not give us the attention that we need. We have to fight for everything. Most people fight. But, for example, I have been in contact with the Ministry of Health backward and forward for about 3 years now to get Ocrevus for our group, especially the primary progressive, because that's the only drug in the world that can impact primary progressive. We have not gotten it yet. They did at one time seem to tell us that we will get it for the primary progressive people, but we have not gotten it yet. Well, we have a website produced by one of our members of the executive, and through that website, if you follow the directions of what to do, if you want to contribute, there is a platform on which you can do that in the website. Yes. Perhaps one of our IT people can explain that better. Yes.
Dr. Phillips, thank you so much.
I hope it was useful.
And the more questions.
Thank
you
you.
very much for
Thank
your
you.
time.
My pleasure.